Okay, so let's talk about measures 18 through 25 of Moscow 1941. So the first thing you're going to want to look at is you're going to want to look at the key signature. And we are in what key here? There's one sharp, it's F sharp. That's right, it's key of G. We're in the key of G. And those F sharps pop up. You might miss them, you probably won't if you look at them closely. The one you're most likely to miss is probably in measure 20, just because it's in the middle of those eighth notes, and sometimes when we play faster notes, we don't really think about the key signature as well, or it's not as easy to think as quickly as the music is moving. So you just want to be careful about that. You want to make sure you check all those F sharps, make sure that you're playing an F sharp every time, unless it says otherwise. But in these measures, it does not, so we're going to play an F sharp every time. Next, let's talk about these rhythms. They're not super hard, they're pretty straightforward. We have some eighth notes here. What I like to do is I like to count 1, 2, 3, 4 out loud and then clap the rhythm. So if I'm doing that by myself, I'm going to count myself off 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And I do that just so that I make sure I know where the beat is all of the time, because you don't want to lose that beat. If you lose that beat, you're going to get off, and your band director might not be happy with you. Or in this case, Dr. Dye. So let's think, now that we've established those rhythms, we know how to count them, let's think about these eighth note runs that cross the break, meaning where you have to let go of the octave key in the middle. That's a little bit tricky, especially if you're not prepared for it. The measures I'm talking about are measure 22 and 24. In those two measures, if you look closely, I know that 24 has a little reminder accidental. You don't really have to worry about that. It's not changing anything in the key. It's just a D natural like it always was, this whole section. But those two measures are the same, and they both go to a B natural. So once you figure one of them out, you have figured both of them out. And there's only 7 measures, so by then you've figured out 2/7 of the whole thing just by working on that one measure. That may not seem like a lot, but it's a lot. So what I like to do when I work on runs that I may not just get right off the bat is I like to just play the notes first, not necessarily thinking about any sort of rhythm, and then incorporate the rhythm later. So first I like to do, starting on measure 22 or measure 24, either one is the same. All slurred. Just doing that until I get a really even airstream all the way through. So you could hear it was a little broken up. So I might want to do that maybe slower, or I'll just do it again a couple times, making sure that I'm not going to break that up. Make sure that my air stays constant the whole time. So I'll just try that again a couple times, normally is what I will do. So. And once you're satisfied with your airstream, then you can start incorporating the rhythm. Still not adding any tongue, we're still just going to slur. So, and you might want to play it a little slower at first, is what I think is ideal. This is what I practice with not only saxophone, with trumpet, with everything that I do. This is a very good skill to work on. This is a very good practice strategy. So I'll incorporate the rhythms this time, but I'm still slurring, and I'm going to take it under tempo. Again. I'll do that until I get it up to tempo. And once I get it up to tempo, slurring, I'll actually bring it back down a little bit. This may take a little longer, you might get frustrated, but it actually helps you a lot. Once you get the whole airstream down, you get the notes, you get the rhythms. At tempo, your air knows what to do. Your air, everything knows what to do except for your tongue. You just have to incorporate that front of the notes that are asking for it. So here, I like to take it a little slower, tonguing when appropriate. So. And I like to work on that just as much until I get it up to tempo and I'm happy with it. So just keep working on it. And eventually you'll have that run. So now we have measures 22 and measure 24 at our disposal. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about, this is the last thing, is measure 23 specifically. Measure 23 is probably a little trickier than it looks. So when you play measure 23, you're going from the first note, which is a B below the break, and then you jump up to that F. So you're putting down at least 3 fingers. If you want to, while you play that B, you can put down the F, the bottom right hand fingering. You can do that because you're anticipating that you're going to play the F. So what I like to do is, normally I wouldn't do that, but if it helps you, you should do it. You go from that B, and then you have to press down your middle finger, index finger, and then your thumb key to get that note out. And then, well, also, obviously, you put that one down. And then you go from here to that D sharp. This D sharp might be a little bit tricky because you're putting down 1, 2, 3 fingers. You're putting down 3 fingers there, which may feel like a jump. You're probably going to want to practice going from that F to that D sharp a bunch of times. Kind of like this, just slurring or tonguing, either one. Actually, you should probably do both. So. Just keep going like that until you get that figured out, and then we go back down to the B. Now, going from that D sharp to that B may be a little trickier because you're actually lifting up more fingers. You have to lift up at least 1 finger up here. We're going to take that pinky key off. And then we have to lift up 1, 2, 1, 2, and then the thumb key as well. I like to just lift up everything except my first finger. It's a little bit easier for me to think of that. The tuning may not be as good, but we're just beginning. But you should experiment with pressing down these 3 and then just taking these your ring, middle, and thumb off of the top when you play that. So, and when I practice that, I practice it the same way that I practiced measure 22 and measure 24. I play the notes slowly, slurred, and then I'll play it with the rhythm. I'll play it with the rhythm up to tempo, and then I'll slow it down, add the articulation, and then bring that up to tempo until I'm happy with the whole section. So I think that should help you out with most of what's in here. You can apply these practice strategies and concepts to not just everything in this piece, but everything you play in general. Anything you struggle with, anything you think you might need help with. But just remember, the most important thing in playing in almost any setting is your airstream, especially with a wind instrument. It's a wind instrument. You want to make sure that your airstream is solid, that your air is playing those notes even if your fingers and your mouth are not. Okay, that's very, very important. So I hope you found value in this. Thank you, and practice well.